I didn't hear from Jim. Usually Jim
Yeah, maybe I'm remembering.
says that there he is. She usually says I'll be.
Darn it.
Hi, Angie, we can hear you.
I'm laughing because I'm using my Mac and not my iPad, so I keep poking the screen to move it. So sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
anyway, yeah, it's just
If
crazy.
we see that
Like
finger
when,
coming at us, we won't flinch.
thanks. Yeah. It's like when you're traveling. I've been traveling so much that I stopped, I think I was at a restaurant and I went to the ladies' room to wash my hands before dinner and I kind of stood there waiting for put my hands under the faucet and nothing happened. And I'm like, what is going on?
Hello.
Automatic. Well, yeah, you know what happened, right? You have to actually turn the faucets to use some. I forgot about doing that because it was so, everything in the airports are just like, run your hands by it and it automatically turns on. What an idiot.
No, I thought you were gonna say you turned into a ghost or something. So
Oh, no,
that's
no, no, no. That's good. That could happen next week. I don't know.
the other day my hands were so cold I could not get my phone to realize I'm like, I'm pushing you.
What did
It's
I
like,
do wrong here? I just lost you guys. Jeez, oh man.
We
no.
still have you, Angie.
I lost you.
Apparently she doesn't have us.
I don't.
Can
I'm gonna
you
have to check back in. What happened to you?
can you hear us, Angie?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah,
We can see you, we can hear you.
Ah, that's
Yep.
scary. Yep, 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 yep.
Yep.
There goes.
Well, that's not gonna happen. I am going to close out of this and do it again. Talk with you soon. Oh, there
Okay.
you are. I was in
It's
some alternative universe. Yeah, don't ask.
parallel.
Yeah, definitely. I was looking at, um houses.
How you doing, Jim?
I am very well, thank you. How are you all doing?
Good.
Good.
It's been a quiet week in the town office anyway.
Uh,
We like when there's a fifth week in the month and there's
Mm.
always a lull in between all the meetings. It's happens
nice.
twice a year. It's very nice.
Ah.
Bird, are we expecting Pat?
Yeah, she had a hip replaced, but said she'd be on Zoom.
Okay. I think she's waiting.
Oh, there she is.
Right on time.
Hmm.
Hi, Pat, can you hear us?
Soon as she gets off mute.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm off.
there you
That would help, wouldn't it?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, welcome. All right, it's 5:30. We'll call the March 25th, 2026 Capital Improvement Plan Committee for the Town of North Hero meeting to order. Are there any adjustments to the agenda in terms of additions or deletions?
I don't have any.
All right. Any public comment? I don't see any representatives from the public. Item number 4, ratify action taken at February 25th, 2026 meeting.
So, I'll talk about that. So if you guys, Angie and Pat and Jim remember, you were voting on sending Angie's name to the select board for recommendation, and she abstained from the vote. And we questioned whether it was an open meeting law violation, if we could legally do that. I attended an open meeting law training a couple weeks ago from VLCT. And even though we did not violate open meeting law, we couldn't take action unless we still had to have a quorum to approve the action.
Yes.
Right, so with Angie absenteeing, we only had 2 out of the 5. So we didn't have a quorum to take action.
All right, so we have our marching orders. So do I have a motion? Someone would like to make regarding Angie's letter of interest to this committee?
I would recommend Angie Morano for reappointment to the CIP committee.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Pat, thank
Yes.
you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any abstentions?
Oh,
Angie,
me.
All right, that motion carries, and it is with a quorum, correct?
3 out of 5. So that's a good question because we only have 4 members.
Is a quorum?
Is it still 5?
Still-
It's five,
Still
yeah.
3 out of 5.
Yeah,
Okay,
all right, so we're all set.
we're all set then.
Congratulations, Angie.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.
So you just, while you cross this hurdle, you still have one more hurdle to cross. So we'll send this to the select board.
Well, as a matter of fact,
That's
I was
already
gonna ask that
happened.
question.
Okay, well,
It happened, I know.
is that a problem?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I
No,
doubt it.
They approved her.
Yep.
I mean, we're just,
and they did it with the majority.
they did it with a majority, so there was just a lot of discussion that night about what we were doing, was it okay? And so I specifically asked the question at the training and,
Yeah, but I'm just guessing since there aren't any probably Robert's Rules of Order public people looking at this, they potentially could ask a question. Well, technically, the select board made an appointment without a recommendation from the committee.
but they can legally do
They
that.
can legally
They
do
can
that.
do
So I
that.
think you're set,
Yeah.
in case you were worried there.
Thank you.
Bring it back.
Okay, so sort of related to this conversation, item number 5, rules of procedures, adopt rules of procedure as revised to include membership recommendation process section.
So the last meeting, we had looked at draft,
Mhm.
a draft section, so G. And everybody had reviewed it. There were no suggestions for changes. So what I did was incorporate it into our current procedures, and
Yep.
now we need to approve them as revised for use going forward.
Is that the only change to the procedure?
Mhm.
All right. So do you have a motion in that regard?
So moved.
Angie, thank you. Second,
Jim,
Jim, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Corinne, for doing that. Planning Commission Town Plan rewrite, timeline and process overview. Pat, were you gonna talk about that?
Yes, I thought I would just, I apologize for sending the information late. But I just thought I'd let you know that we're underway and that we will be working with the Northwest Regional Planning Commission in drafting this. And I just wanted to let you know that we are, I think there's at least certainly one area where I would like your input, but maybe not, I don't need it tonight, but maybe in the next couple of weeks, if possible. And that is, it's about the themes, the key issues that we want to address in our town plan. And if you look at the document that that Lisa would have sent to you, me, it's on the 3rd page. There are a couple of things there. One, we don't have a vision statement, and we really should have a vision statement. So we need to be developing that. And when we develop a vision statement, the plan is for 8 years, but we would like to think about it in a longer time frame than 8 years. As we know, so many of the public works things take quite a long while to get in place. So anyway, your thoughts about that would be helpful. And the key themes, they're written out here, and they're not, they're really they're just placeholders right now. They're not really worded particularly well. For example, increasing housing options. We need to define all of these better, I don't think the thought is we need to increase housing options at the million plus level. We're required by the state to look at affordable housing options and the climate resilience, that really takes into hazard mitigation and that sort of thing. So in any event, I hope to be coming back to you at the next meeting with this a little better thought out. And in the interim, if you all have anything you want to add to this, it would be really helpful, and I would appreciate it.
Pat, should there be something on supporting local businesses and encouraging new businesses to start?
Exactly. We don't have that. And I think that's required by the state, because that really affects how we approach zoning in some areas for certain. And there's the whole thought about how are we managing, or what are the impacts, or our vision about the balance of permanent residence homes and seasonal residence homes, and how do we want that to go? I think they think that's in terms of like what sort of infrastructure is needed to support that and how that impacts kind of the character of the town.
I have a question on the
Yes,
key
sir.
themes. Does the current plan currently have key themes identified?
I believe that it does, but
Are those what's listed here, or are these different?
no, these are ones that, some of these are part of the current plan, but not entirely.
Okay. Angie, do you have a question?
I did. We're doing a plan with another organization, and one of the other things we're focusing on, because we live in Vermont in a rural area, is transportation.
Yes.
And I would think, I don't know how important that is on the radar for the Planning Commission, but it certainly is for healthcare and other things. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is on it. And again, that's another area that is required by the state. So,
okay.
we really have not done a really great
Okay.
job on the themes, just to be candid. It's just a very first pass.
So this Vermont Planning Goals, section 4302, vibrant, sustainable community, not sure how to describe that, chart or something. That lists, like, I don't know, 16 different things, which include transportation, which include housing, which include all those things we sort of talked about. So
The entire waterfront.
At the end, yeah, got it. I didn't go that far. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, it's pretty all encompassing. So our plan is not due until 2028. So we do have a little time to think about that. And I think one of the thing that I was most interested in, and it's kind of why I got on the Planning Commission, was that I was interested in getting people, the citizens, our residents, and our seasonal people, getting their input on what they want the town to be like, what their vision is for the town and what's important to them. So I'm going backwards a little bit. On the schedule, we were supposed to start looking at developing a survey now, and then doing what they call tabling, where you go to events and have a table. And having been in the marketing research business, that's kind of not how we do. That's not how we do it in the, business world and colleges, university, member organizations, that sort of thing. And so what they agreed to is that I'm going to work with Luke Slamba from the Regional Commission, and we're really going to start off with, I'd like to start off with the public kickoff kind of meeting, where we explain to people what the scope looks like, what the timing might be, and how they could get involved, and then begin to use small focus groups, think of small discussion groups, to get people's input. And from that input, develop sort of what are the issues that people are interested in, the key themes sort of thing. And then from that, we would go off and develop a survey. So you know, I don't know how much you all want to be involved, but I'm happy to have you see what goes along the entire way. So it's entirely up to you. You can tell me to go away if you get tired of it.
No, thank you. This is very, I find this interesting. I'm wondering, does the planning commission have a consultant they're working with? to
Yes,
develop
oh, I'm
this?
sorry, yes. So we hired the Northwest Regional Planning Commission to help us. So there is a little bit of a conflict there. On the one hand, these folks are certainly the experts in writing town plans. So they know, you know, about conforming to the state regulations and so forth. And that's really important. The conflict that I see, and I think Andy would agree, and some of the members of the planning commission, is they've set goals, perhaps you all have seen it, for housing development, for like, I think it was 50 new homes by 2030 in North Hero. I mean, you know, things like that are really, I mean, they're, you know, in fairness to them, they're obligated by the state to develop so many homes in our area, in the Northwest region. And so that was kind of our share of it. But you all.
They're not exempt from Act 50 either, are they?
Pardon me?
They're not exempt from Act 250, are they?
No.
Okay,
No.
okay.
And you know, that would be a real challenge to have. And then I think it's another 100 after that. So how we think about that, and importantly, how we work with the other towns in Grand Isle, you know, because maybe it's more appropriate. I don't know, maybe appropriate. We can work together to meet goals, housing goals. But anyway, so that's a little bit of the rub. But Andy keeps saying it's our plan, not theirs. So theoretically, we're in the driver's seat.
Angie?
Yeah, two things. One, Pat, I think it's a gift that you're on that committee. And
You're sweet.
I feel very no, it is. It's a gift. And I would appreciate, you know, I think from our standpoint, I would appreciate, you know, being connected to the planning process, because it is going to be in tandem with the future, whether we're the same committee by 2028 or not.
Yeah. No, and I saw that, especially like with the hazards, you know, there's
Absolutely.
lots of things that
Yeah.
the capital improvement planning group is going to have to deal with, and you need
Yes.
to know about it ahead of time.
Right.
So
Thank you.
anyway, that's my 2 cents on all that.
A lot of work.
Thank you, Pat. Does anyone else have any other questions for Pat? Thank you again. I think, you know, to Angie's point, also there's going to be overlap and intertwining of various different departments of town government on this, because it sort of is we're all interconnected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7, discussion on how to recruit and advertise for vacancies, as well as confirmation of Frank Cody's status on the committee. Let's talk about Frank Cody's status on the committee first.
He's a select board member now,
Yep.
so.
He was elected.
We have lost Frank Cody.
But do we need to do something formally, or?
No, I think he just didn't want to jinx himself, and he kind of refused to be off the committee till after he was elected. So this is just kind of, we'll get it on the record. It'll be in the minutes.
Okay,
Does he really have to go? I mean,
No, but he's also on the water board, so I
oh,
think.
he's.
Water,
Thank
water, yeah.
Okay.
And liaison to what, library and parks and rec and several other committees. So they're really busy. So
so for the record, we can confirm that Frank Cody is no longer on this committee due to his election as a select board member.
Wish him well.
And then, but related to that is then a discussion on how to recruit and advertise for vacancies. What typically, not just for this committee, but just in terms of any other committee for the town, is there a process or a procedure generally that's followed?
I think it's best practice to advertise it, but what I see actually works is recruitment.
Meaning like members go and talk to people and see if they're interested?
Should we put something on front page forum?
Sure,
Whatever
I
it
can
is.
do that.
Front porch.
I
That's it.
can come up with
front porch work.
an ad and put it on FPF.
What about the
And-
Islander?
Yeah, sometimes they'll post our things. They're more monetary driven. They don't always.
Yeah, Yeah,
take my submissions.
Right.
But I always try. So,
And we can post it around like Harborside and Heroes Welcome and out here by the door, and we could even put a little sign here at the entranceway of the coming in. We've done that for DRB, you know, we have a vacancy and
Can we make an announcement at the next select board meeting? I don't know if people listen to, like,
Mm.
zoom into those or
sure.
just
great
put it
idea.
up.
Why not?
Yeah. Okay, any other
yeah,
ideas?
any other committees anybody's on? You know, Angie, if you want to tell the library, and Pat, you
Tell
want
the
to tell the
library.
planning commission, yeah.
Yeah, I will do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Talk to neighbors.
I'll tell the fire department folks. Yeah,
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
It's a new
that's a-
pool.
That's a, yeah,
new pool.
it's a
Right.
big group, so yeah.
All right, anything else on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 8, update on hazard mitigation plan action items. Who's gonna do
You
that?
want to talk about the select?
So we brought this up at the last select board meeting and,
Can you just refresh my memory, brought what up?
oh, yes, thank you. So Lisa, in working to keep, our capital plan fresh and updated, when she saw the hazard mitigation plan come through, she realized there were action items in it, and some of them might qualify as a capital, item being over $10,000.
We did discuss some of those previously.
Yes, so she brought it to the committee. We all agreed they should be incorporated, but we had a lot of questions, who's gonna manage these projects? How are we gonna get follow-ups, updates? You know, they didn't even all have firm quotes, so we weren't sure about costs. So we were like, well, who's gonna, like, basically, who's gonna manage these projects?
But do some of them fall under the purview of other town departments or committees?
We had no idea.
That was the question.
Who would make
It's
that
really the
decision?
question.
Yeah.
So the
The select board?
CIP kind of said, well, we should ask the select board that, because we didn't know. And so we asked the select board and they deferred. We have a new emergency management director, and Carl has requested that I set up a meeting with him, myself, the emergency management director that's outgoing, and the one that's ingoing.
Who's the outgoing and who's the incoming?
Outgoing is Brandy Latimer and incoming is Jim Benson. So outgoing had already requested that the select board stand up an emergency management committee, and Brandy had told me she wanted that because she wanted the committee to meet quarterly and review the action items in the plan. That committee was never, all the select board agreed to it, but then it was never formally stood up with membership, et cetera. So it'll be interesting to see if the new director has the same ambition, I guess is the way to put it, without it being formally started. It is a fair amount of work. That's
And-
not,
Remind me, the hazard mitigation plan is a requirement of the state, correct? Or
It-
by feds?
it's a little of both.
Yeah,
So the Vermont Emergency Management, they coordinate and really strongly encourage all towns to have this. You get different levels of FEMA funding should there be a federal disaster based on whether or not you have a plan. So the town, we worked with a consultant to put it together. It was approved at the town level and it was approved at the state level, and then it gets sent to FEMA for further approval. And it's been sitting there for like 6 months. And the select board talked about that too. They were like, well, I mean, what's the status of FEMA? Or we really, how much do we invest in something we don't know the future of, kind of? So, I think this is gonna be interesting further discussion at the select board level.
so it doesn't sound like there's any action required from this committee at this time.
No, I think our biggest decision point would be if nobody takes ownership of these projects, do we keep these items incorporated in the capital plan?
I would say we had to ask that question to the select board because our job is to do that, but it is not our job. I mean, if an entity is not following the capital plan as directed or voted on by the select board, then that's something that I think the select board would want to deal with. Am I missing the point? Probably.
I mean,
I mean, right? I mean, I'm just,
there's, I mean, as the leader of a small town, there's an unlimited amount of things they can direct their attention to.
right.
The last plan sat on a shelf for 5 years, so.
No, I just mean in terms of our spending money or having unusual things
Oh,
pop
yeah.
up that we need to deal with, but we don't because no one is taking responsibility for submitting them or putting it together. Someone needs to say, you're responsible, whether it's the town, I don't know who it is, but
No, I think you're right, Angie.
it's almost yeah. We might not shouldn't do this if we don't have,
So
kind
if
of,
nobody takes ownership over it, nobody will submit an Appendix D and that solves itself.
well,
Correct.
until they need the equipment or until there's a hazard
Then we'll
mitigation that
submit
needs to
Appendix
happen.
D and come back
Or
and
until the
find.
town plan comes to fruition and says, we're gonna do this and we need money for, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make a
Has
big
the
deal
out-
out of it, but I just see a disconnect, that's all.
Mhm.
Has the outgoing emergency management director had recent conversations with the state people about inquiring of FEMA, or what's the line, or who?
Not that I'm aware of. I have not been able to coordinate a conversation with the outgoing director. I actually reached out to the consultant on this plan myself to ask some follow-up questions with the select board. And again, she's a consultant and she's considered this job done. So the response was, I mean, I was surprised she responded. But again, she was like, the future of FEMA is uncertain. Here are some further resources.
Right, but I have to believe that someone at the state, I can't remember who the current director is at the state level.
Oh, the emergency
Yeah.
management director at the state.
I can't remember the last time when I was working for the state, it was a woman, her name is escaping me, I can't think of it. But Joe Flynn, who's the Secretary of the Agency of Transportation, used to be the Director of Emergency Management back in the day. And I have to believe it's the type of thing that, if you don't have one and there's a disaster, you may not get any federal funding, even if there is a FEMA organization. But it's the type of thing that it's almost like you're damned if you do or damned if you don't. But I would advocate to having one, whether it's approved or not by the feds, at least having it and having some sort of at least annual review by the select board or something of it to document
yeah.
that someone's looking at it.
Well, and to play devil's advocate, even if there is no FEMA, to me, that means you need to double down and work even harder on the
Yeah.
hazard mitigations, because nobody's coming to bail out our
That's right.
residents.
The other thing I'd suggest is somebody contacting one of the congressional representatives and just asking them if they could inquire at the Fed level about the status.
Yeah, I mean, I think now it's just a matter of who that would be, and everybody is deflecting. So we'll see what our new emergency management director decides to do.
All right, any other questions on this? On this disaster?
I think we need to keep it on the radar.
We could become the CIP/emergency management committee.
Let's
How many
not.
plans do we want to
That's
juggle?
that's not, yeah.
All right, timeline review, review timeline just from our next steps.
So all the documentation went out to the boards. You all were copied on it. So, yep, I've had no response, but I wasn't expecting any, so. But everybody has the information.
So the due dates, can you refresh on?
It's the end of June.
Okay,
So we'll start to review them at our July meeting.
okay.
And
Any-
that's where we are.
Are there any questions related to that from anyone? All right. So this breaks down to item number 10, future agenda items and confirming next meeting, file agenda. So I'm gonna ask a question. Do people feel the need that we need to have another meeting or like, this is March, so April, May, and June, there's no really, until we actually get something submitted from somebody, there's nothing to review, correct? Do I have that right? So would it be advisable or preferable of members to like not have an April meeting? And I mean, if something comes in, it could certainly be sent to us. But we still wouldn't take any any action on anything, and because while we might review individual submissions when they come in, we wouldn't make any final determinations in terms of prioritizing or doing everything until they're all in, correct?
Right, yeah, they all have to go through the ranking
Through
model.
the ranking model, so I'm just
And
wondering,
I'm sorry, the entities still have liaisons with us, you know, like we all have a connection to a committee or two if they need any help or assistance, and if they would call the town office and say, hey, we need some help, or we could still be available to do that. That's irrespective of a meeting. So I'm in favor of not having a meeting for the sake of one.
Jim,
The only
Pat?
thing I could see is if we receive an application to join the committee, but I guess that could also just wait
Ah.
until the May meeting.
I'd move for
Right.
that.
Okay, well, we'll see if there's any response.
Yeah, we can
And
always
then we
just
can just
have a
say,
meeting.
you know, we did get a response and we can have a meeting.
You can even do
Your
it by
thoughts?
Zoom, yeah.
Yeah, if I feel like if I feel like I need some input from you all on the whole town plan process, I can reach out to Lisa and Corinne and they can let you know. I mean, if it would have to be something really critical, but I could do that just as a way of keeping you informed. Is that okay? That's not against the,
I think you're just providing information, it's not anything that would require an action.
okay, an action on,
Yeah.
right.
All right, I'm gonna suggest then that we not have an April meeting. For those reasons we just discussed, but it also just Lisa and Corinne also want us to go to prepare for a 1 month. And then we can plan on, having the May meeting. And maybe Lisa and or Corinne can just provide some information, if as things come in or not, and maybe we need at some point to even send out reminders. To some of the departments or committees.
Well, we haven't addressed the ranking model because last year Frank input all of that.
Now, I thought I heard Frank saying it, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that he would be willing to help out.
Yeah, we did
Right.
say that. Mhm.
Yes.
And I took that to mean that if we submitted everything to him, he would run it through the model.
My interpretation was if we wanted to tweak the model,
Okay,
but there's no harm in asking.
no, I mean, yeah,
I'm sure I could sit with him
You do it.
one afternoon and put everything in and see, or try it myself, and if I have questions, I can reach out to him.
yeah,
So,
because, so they're due at the end of June. And then our analysis and sort of recommendation, if you will, has to go to the select board by when?
so we have in July reviewing all the submissions. And then August, inviting the PC, the planning commission. And
Would the planning commission already be here? Through Pat?
we have presenting it to the planning commission in October.
Okay,
And then the select board in October.
okay, so we have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Everyone okay with that?
Yes.
All right,
All good.
that's a decision. We don't need a motion on that, right?
Mm,
So,
no.
okay. Anything else before we call for a motion to adjourn?
I just have one comment. The LCT has created a whole page about capital planning. And they used a lot of our documentation and a lot of our information. It's the exact same submission D that they called and asked for our information and had seen everything on the website, and they had, but anybody, I'll send you the link to it in case you're not familiar with VLCT, and you can check it out if you're interested. There's some forms that are a little different, some that maybe we want to add or tweak or.
Do they give us credit?
I don't know that they gave us credit, but they did say that, in some towns, North Hero and I think Cornwall, they have
Yeah.
a CIP committee. Yeah.
Okay.
So they gave, yeah.
And Lisa and I both really liked their, what appendix is it, that we call it, but the plan.
The,
Like
the
the
5-year,
strategy
6-year
for
plan
five-year
that's so
plan.
spread
Yeah.
out, it was more condensed. It was a little cleaner, I think.
When you say theirs, you mean VLCT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, their spreadsheet, so we may want to look at that.
Adopting it.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
so, but I'll send you the link and you can check it out and just some great information, so.
Thank you. Well, I would say that's a feather in the town's cap for
For sure.
you and
All of
you
our
and Corinne.
cats, yeah,
Yeah,
all of,
yeah.
no, all of us,
Mhm.
we did it as a team and,
Yeah. well,
yeah.
Well, great. Thank you.
I mean, the ranking model, I can't take any credit for that.
Yeah, that was all right, but they did talk about ranking models and they talk
Yeah.
about all that, stuff, so, yeah. Yeah,
All right.
they
Anything,
probably listen to our meetings.
God, I hope not.
anything else from anyone? All right, I'll take a motion for adjournment, please.
I'll make that.
Angie, Jim,
Second,
second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you all very much. And
Thank you.
we'll learn more about whether or not we're going to meet in April, but at the moment we're not. And we'll plan on meeting in May.
good.
Sounds good. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. Have a
Farewell,
good evening
everyone.
all.
Thank you.
Happy spring.
Take
Bye.
care, Pat.
Bye.
Yeah, heal fast.
I know she looks great for having
She
surgery.
does.
and-